We're looking at practice clips from Minicamp and OTAs, and today we're looking at the Green Bay Packers and getting another look at Matthew Golden. We're going to watch him work through some drills, run some routes, but we're also going to talk about what we want to see out of him during training camp, because we're going to be looking at those clips here soon in the next few weeks. But we want to talk about how we want to see him progress, how we want to see him look during his rookie season. It's all right here. Click that button right now. Stop missing out, because we're talking about these practices, rookie camp, minicamp, OTAs, how your players are developing, your rookies, your quarterback battles, those guys you're getting ready to draft in fantasy football. Click that button. Stop missing out. You need to be in the know of these players and what they're doing before the season starts, and it's all going to be right here. 3.5 minutes of clips. We'll loop them and keep talking ball like we always do. But Matthew Golden, drafted in the first round. And some people like him and some people don't. And that's due to his production profile throughout his collegiate career. But I can tell you the one thing. The one thing about him is he fits this offense. He fits this offense and what they do. This is an offense that spreads the ball around. You look at the target distribution last year. The ball got spread around to all the wide receivers. And he's going to be on the field. He's going to work his way on the field early in his career, and he's going to get the opportunity to learn and develop, and he's going to have his moments during his rookie season, and that's going to allow him to build into 2026. And with him being on the field, getting a good route participation rate this year, because I'm not expecting it to go deep into this year, and we're wondering where he's at on team. He's going to be on the field. He is going to be on the field. You look at the depth chart here, you're going to see him beat out some of these wide receivers. He's going to be part of what I call the Packers' offense, their passing offense, the carousel effect, because the ball gets spread around so well with Love that any given game, all those top 3 to 4 wide receivers on the team can get it on any given Sunday when it comes to top tier fantasy production, because we're trying to guess the fantasy production every week on these players. And over the last couple years, I had to create that scientific term due to that. And we're just trying to guess the targets, the pace of play, and it's really any given week. However, usually the guy leading in target share has the best opportunity, but also the guy who's the deep threat, who's getting the air yards. But there's also like a Dubs who gets his moments as well, because he's running just as many routes as everybody else, and the right game script goes his way. He could be the hitter. The thing about this is he's going to be on the field. Over time, he's going to get a good route participation rate, which is going to be sometime during this season. And due to his speed, he's going to get a good average depth of target. And on top of that, he's going to run routes where he can get a good yards after the catch. So he's going to get those opportunities. And he's got a quarterback that doesn't care. That carousel effect also proves, and you just go look at the numbers, just baseline. You don't have to go game for game or anything. It's not even advanced analytics. You just go look at target numbers last year. Spread around. Love doesn't care. So he's going to be out in the field running routes. He's going to be getting opportunity. So how is he going to help the Packers? One, you got that 4.2 speed. Deep downfield, he's twitched up, can create separation. He's going to be very reliable. Very reliable in space. You got to account for him. You also got Reed. Reed's a solid wide receiver. Dubs a solid wide receiver. Christian Watson trying to get back, banged up. He's going to be the deep threat taking over that. He's going to take over that role, because he's faster. Watson's been hurt. Ain't been looking good with him. You got Wicks, who's a very sudden route runner. He had some drops last year. We can note that. But this is adding talent to this passing offense. Love has been good, spreading the ball around. He's going to be on the field. And what I mean by the carousel effect, you're looking at this wide receiver depth chart in season, micro-analysis, game by game by game. It's hard to predict which one, but you know one of them's going to hit for the week. The second one's going to be okay. The third one's going to bust. Fourth one, too. You could have 2 hitters for the week, but it's really hard to peg which one. You have an idea. You can kind of guess, but you'll get burnt every other week on that. But the fact is, considering you got a carousel effect and you got a first-round wide receiver, he's going to be on the field. So now we're talking fantasy football analysis. Let's talk redraft here. You're looking at a dart throw wide receiver. That's going to be a lottery ticket play. That there's going to be moments throughout the year that he's going to start to hit. He's going to start getting his moment. He's going to be on the field. Love's not going to care. He's going to get his opportunity. That could be late in the season. That could be middle of the season. That could be early. And it could be just taking off like a rocket. But he's going to be on the field and he's going to get his moments. Really depends on how he develops as a rookie, honestly. Honestly, how he acclimates to the system. What do we want to see out of training camp to know that? We want to hear things from the coaching staff. Once we get in the joint practices, we want to see him cook. We want to see him cook in the 1v1s. We want to see him cook on 11 versus 11s, 2-minute drills. We want to see that. We want to look at those highlights. That's why you need to click that subscribe button right now, because I will have that right here. I will have that right here so you will have an idea. I won't say you will know, but you'll have an idea. You'll have a better idea of what your rookies are looking like going into the season so you can place your bets. You'll see with your own eyes. You'll have a good idea. Dynasty, first round rookie draft. Some people are hot on him. Some people are cold on him. Now, when you're looking at first round picks, it's him versus the running backs, and it's him versus like RJ Harvey, him versus like a Caleb Johnson. I'm in on the running backs. I drafted my wide receivers last year, so I am chasing running backs hard. I'm drafting the running backs. I'm not lying. I'll show my hand with that. I'm drafting the running backs. I'm going after the running backs. I went after my wide receivers last year, and as you can see, like the Malik Neighbors, all those other guys I hit. Most of them did. A lot of them didn't. Got a lot of Brian Thomas Jr., and I knew the next year was going to be a running back draft. Next year should be weak at wide receiver. Should be, but we could have some guys that emerge the year after that. Is looking like a solid wide receiver class, and probably the year after that. That 2020-24, extra 20 in there, but still that 2024 freshman class going into college was nasty at wide receiver. We should expect some hitters, but we're talking too deep on that. But looking at this year's wide receiver class, if you're really hurting a wide receiver and you're trying to get a guy with some upside that's a first-round pick that's got some capital to him, it's golden. It's golden, but the opportunity cost is at the running back position. That is something to think about. If you have extra picks, you can go that route. He will be getting opportunities on the field this year. He'll be getting opportunities with Jordan Love. At the price point where he's at in the first round, you might be able to make that swing. Maybe you want to diversify to him. But I am also saying the opportunity cost is foregoing a running back that you may like, and you're going to have to make that pick. And the thing is, the running back position, that if you get a young running back that hits, and it could be just a little bit, that running back's going to jump in value. Where at wide receiver right now, he's really going to have to make some strides. However, you're looking at a wide receiver in his first year. You got some talent. You got the speed to burn. You're in an offense that's going to spread it around. I look for him to be on the field. I'm going to be very surprised if he's not having a good route participation rate by the end of the year. I'll be very surprised. We're into Thanksgiving, and he has a route participation rate in the 50s or lower. I'd be very surprised. I would guess the 70 range, 75% range, while the other wide receivers get their opportunities. That would be the guess. Could be up to the 90 percentile, 90th percent, not percentile, or it could be that if it's at 90%. That makes sense. But it could happen. But I look for him to be a 70 to 90% range for once we get around Thanksgiving time, October-ish, Halloween time, somewhere around there, middle of the season, and once we're in the thick of it. Could be earlier than that. I'm just giving him grace. If you watch the channel, I give all rookies grace. So that's something you need to pay attention to. When you give rookies grace, you don't sell them off or throw them or cast them aside. When they don't hit week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you give them some time. I give them a year or so sometimes, most times, especially with the context of the offense, especially at the wide receiver position. But I believe he's going to be on the field. I believe we're going to be running 20-plus routes per game easy. And those opportunities and this offense is better than a lot of other offenses because he's going to give you that spike week production. If you suck at setting lineups in fantasy football, stay away. Just stay away. Stay away. The ball spreads around a lot in this offense, and maybe you pick them up as an asset in Dynasty to buy, sell, hold, or trade. You do that. But if you suck at setting lineups and he doesn't hit towards his top end, to his upside, and he's hitting to like the 70 to 80% of that, and you suck at setting lineups, so even when he's playing well, you're probably not starting him some of those rounds because of the offense, the ball being spread around. That being said, it's really on how good you are playing the game, prospecting out week to week. If you're in best ball, this might be a great wide receiver for you. Now, if you're looking at redraft, like I said, lottery ticket play for this year. And I expect him to start cooking somewhere down the line when it comes to work rate wise, route participation rate. The market share of routes ran on the field, a good 20 plus routes per game, targets 5 plus per game, easy. A decent target share, pushing 20% by the end of the season. And that'd be on average. I believe we're going to have some spike weeks mixed in with that. And I'm guessing the work rate here compared to the fantasy points because it's easier to guess work rates. And once you guess work rates, you can figure out from game to game to game to game how to start players. That's the thing that I'm looking at for fantasy football. That's why I don't do year projections, because unless you got it prorated out from game to game to game to game, it just really doesn't make sense. It just looks like numbers. Then you got injuries cast to the side. However, if you can guess the rates, the average, like the target share, the amount of targets per game, if you got that pretty much locked on, if you at least got a story around it like I do and that how it makes sense, then that's something to go off of. It's more concrete. Like I believe he's going to be running 20 plus routes per game, probably like 25 plus once we get past Halloween time. Easy. Could be earlier than that. He's hitting that, but 20 plus on the safe end, 25-ish more likely. And you're looking at 5 plus targets per game. On the high end, 8 to 10. On the low end, 4 to 6, 4 to 5-ish range, due to the carousel effect here with the Green Bay Packers. Just prospecting out, because they spread the ball around. They'll go 4 wide receivers getting a fair amount of targets in a game. If we're looking at an over-under pushing 50 for the matchup, projected point total. What I'm looking at this, if I'm a Packers fan, because I talked a lot of numbers from fantasy football, you got a talented wide receiver. I'm expecting him to be a good asset for you early in his career, especially this year, considering I'm expecting him to be on the field, running a good amount of routes. So at least at the minimum, early in his career, a good role player, getting opportunity, or he's going to have matchups where he's going to be productive. He's going to grow on that and eventually be a good corner piece of this offense, at least in the passing offense. Well, it will be in the passing offense. That only makes sense for the wide receiver. But at least a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 in this passing offense. But this is an offense where the ball spreads around, which is great. I expect the chains to move more for this team. I expect him to be great after the catch. I expect them to push it downfield with him. I expect him to take more of that Watson role downfield. I expect him to have a different role than that even. Him create separation. But the deep threat city that he's going to have with that speed, they're going to utilize that. But they're also going to want to utilize that yak. Now, I talked a lot about numbers. Maybe compared to some people out there on the internet about fantasy, especially Dynasty, I sound a little bit more bullish, but yet a little bit more timid. I talk about a range of outcomes, and I try to guess the work rate of the players versus the production, because the work rate's just easier to nail, and the production could be iffy week to week depending on matchup. He could be overthrown but still be playing well. It could be just a low-scoring game, weather, whatever. But if you're close on guessing the target share, the target distance, then guessing the pace of play of that matchup, the points projected to be scored in that matchup, you can dial it in a little bit better, and then it's just random variance that will take you off track for that matchup when you're trying to guess the production in that game, trying to make your bets. But again, I like him. I think this is the perfect fit for him. I think you put him like on the Dallas Cowboys or some of these other teams, or maybe like even the Steel, like a bunch of other random teams here. It ain't going to feel as good. But I feel like this is the perfect spot for him. And I think he's going to give you something for fantasy. How high is going to be the question. I don't think it's going to be so low that you're going to forget about him. But I'm very interested to see how he's going to look like for the next few years. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.